Okay, so how's it going? Welcome back, my wonderful wise ones, to a very special video. Today we're going to be talking about Fallout New Vegas. So this is going to be a new type of format. I like to actually film and, different locations outside and then in-game. Also my usual setup. So let me know if you like this type of review. But I just feel like I can get more comparative shots. And I don't know, it just makes it a much more interesting, viewable experience, if you ask me. Today I'm going to be giving you my Fallout New Vegas 2025 review. And I want to explain why you should play Fallout New Vegas in 2025. And honestly, I think that Fallout New Vegas in 2025 is the last year that this game will truly, kind of have a lasting impact. And it's just still so crazy to me that, even though Fallout New Vegas is such an old game at this point, so many people still love it. So many people still care about it to this day, which is quite crazy when you consider so many old games that a lot of people just don't care about anymore. Even if you look back at the other Elder Scrolls games, they just aren't as everlasting as Fallout. And the reason why I say you need to play, or you should play Fallout New Vegas in 2025 is because this year is the last year that Fallout New Vegas truly will mean something. And to me, it's kind of like the end of an era. It's the celebration of New Vegas, because we're getting season 2 of the Fallout TV show. And if you're not aware, it's obviously going to be filmed and set in New Vegas. So it looks like we're finally going to get, an answer as to what actually happened. We're going to get, a vanilla ending, if you will. And I think this is going to make people go back to Fallout New Vegas in 2025. I truly think that people will realize that Fallout New Vegas is actually the best Fallout game of the series, if I'm honest. And hopefully the show pays it respect. It does, proper tribute to the factions of Fallout New Vegas, like the Legion, like the NCR. The way that the Fallout TV show handled the New Vegas factions and, Shady Sands and all that stuff. A lot of people are quite upset, and it's understandable, but I truly do think that they will pay respect to New Vegas, but maybe not in the way that we want. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. I do hope you enjoy this Fallout New Vegas 2025 review and why you should play Fallout New Vegas in 2025. And I really do hope you like this new filming format. So if you're new to the channel, make sure that you go down below and subscribe. Become a wise one today. You don't want to miss out on this fantastic community. If you love deep video essays and analysis on video games, early reviews, yearly reviews, and philosophical content, blending them both together, gaming and philosophy. That's what this channel is all about. Old school YouTube, having a connection with you guys, the community, not doing it for, the brand or some bullshit, or just trying to squeeze as much money from people as possible. I do this because I love it and I love interacting with you guys, so please sound off in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about the Fallout franchise. I am such a passionate, crazy nerd, I guess, for Fallout. I absolutely love it. I play Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, and the original Fallout games pretty much once a year at this point. And the best way to play Fallout New Vegas in 2025, if you ask me, is on PC, okay? Fallout New Vegas, sadly, let's get the maintenance stuff out of the way, talk about modding for a second. It is still such an old game at this point, and, like 5 years ago, or a couple of years ago, I would say, it still feels fine to play, if you can get past some dated graphics and some jank, but honestly, it's a quite difficult game to get running. If you have it on Xbox or something like that, that's fine. But if you want a good experience, you need to mod it. And luckily, modding technology has come a long way. We have, software and tools like Wabberjack, where you can literally install a whole mod list by a click of the button. Obviously, it's not that simple. You need to sign up with Nexus Mods and all that kind of stuff, and it does cost money, but honestly, it's worth it if you want a modernized New Vegas with better animations and all that stuff. I would highly recommend that you look into that. Otherwise, if you can, get past the fact that it's an old game and it feels janky and kind of dated at this point, then yeah, still play it on Xbox, still play it on the PS5, whatever you can. I honestly think you need to play it this year. It's full of bugs, and honestly, that's just simply because Bethesda didn't give them enough time to create New Vegas. And it's so funny to me, and it still is just hilarious how New Vegas is like the black sheep of the family, and obviously Todd doesn't really want to do it as much justice as his franchise. If you notice in the Fallout TV show, we get lots of references to, you know, like Bethesda creations and Bethesda made assets and stuff. And Fallout New Vegas, you know, obviously it's going to be there and it's going to be, you know, prevalent in the second season, but I don't think it's going to be our New Vegas. It's going to be a future version of New Vegas, and it's not going to, you know, showcase the things that we love about New Vegas in that specific time in the Fallout universe. But they didn't give it enough time to cook in the oven. And if you watch the documentary of how New Vegas was made, it's so fascinating because they really had to just crunch, but it just became such a beautiful game and one of the most deepest and complicated RPGs that we have, and that's just so surprising, you know. But Fallout New Vegas is still the best Fallout game because it blends the immersive role-playing of the older original Fallout titles with a 3D, you know, rendered version of the Fallout universe that you can actually interact with that feels, you know, similar to Skyrim and stuff like that, and Oblivion. But yeah, sadly it is still very buggy, so just be aware of that. That hasn't changed in 2025. So the reason I love Fallout New Vegas so much is simply because the factions, okay? They are so morally complicated and deep. You know, even factions like the Legion that on the outside, you know, looks like the obvious bad faction, actually, you know, when you talk to the leader, you realize his vision and his kind of warped view on Hegel's dialectics, which is a very interesting philosophy, basically, you know, describing how something new has to be created from emerging ideas. There has to be a conflict in order for a synthesis to occur, in order for a new creation to emerge, you know, and he believes that the conflict is inevitable. And this whole view on Hegel's dialectics is actually false to a degree, which I think is very funny. And it just goes much deeper than you first imagine. You know, the same with the Brotherhood of Steel. Bethesda always liked to portray them as the good guys, the noble knights. But actually in Fallout New Vegas, you realize that they're just after technology. They don't care about who they hurt along the way. So that's one reason why Fallout New Vegas is so interesting. If you want a full breakdown of all the Fallout factions and their philosophy, I made a whole separate video describing the philosophy of Fallout, which sadly not many people saw. It's a very deep philosophical look at the Fallout factions, so I won't go rambling on about it here, but it is one of the reasons I love Fallout New Vegas so much. And even if you don't care too much about the story or the factions, you know, just the sense of immersive gameplay that you have, the sense of control, everything that your player does has impact on the game world, okay? That's why it's so incredible, because you can change the outcomes of these factions. You have the classic karma system like with Fallout 3, but it's built upon even further because it actually has direct action and consequence with the factions. So if you do something against one faction, then, you know, you will slowly either gain their favor or lose favor with them and eventually become either loved or hated, and they will shoot you on sight. There's a whole disguise mechanic in Fallout New Vegas, so it has so many cool gameplay elements from so many other different games. You know, Hitman with the kind of disguise system, deep role-playing from the original Fallout games, you know, deep factions, and great quality writing. That can't be understated. That's why Fallout New Vegas has stood the test of time, if you ask me, simply because the writing is absolutely fantastic. It's mature. It doesn't try and hold your hand. It doesn't treat you like a dumb baby gamer. It actually respects you to actually being able to, you know, follow complicated politics in a video game and different nuanced choices with the NCR and the Legion, the Brotherhood of Steel. Interesting factions emerge like the Followers of the Apocalypse that look like a, you know, good charity on the surface, but then if you dig deeper, you know, there's always going to be corruption. So it's never simple. It's never like, okay, I'm going to do a good playthrough, I'm going to do a bad playthrough. It's much more complicated. That's why it's such a beloved RPG, if you ask me, because there is always weight and consequence to your actions. And so many modern day games don't care about that anymore. They don't care about you actually interacting with the game and the game's universe and actually having, you know, proper impact on that game world and the NPCs. But this truly feels immersive. Not because the gameplay is good, the shooting still feels very lackluster, especially by today's standards. The VAT system is still great and much better than Fallout 4 if you ask me, but the gameplay itself is clunky, the shooting doesn't feel good whatsoever. But there's so many other gameplay elements that New Vegas just makes up for compared to newer Fallout games like 4 and 76. You even have, you know, survival mechanics, you can do camping, and, you know, craft ammunition, modify your weapons. So that was quite ahead of its time back then. So for newer gamers who have never even played New Vegas, that's why I highly recommend you play Fallout New Vegas in 2025. And, you know, you have all of these systems in place that a lot of modern day games are simply lacking. So I highly recommend that you do play Fallout New Vegas in 2025. Now, another reason why Fallout New Vegas is just so special to me and why I think it's like one of the best RPGs ever created is simply because of not just the smart writing, but how all of the characters basically feel like real people, not NPCs that you're talking to. I'm sure we're all aware of the Oblivion NPC Bethesda style that's kind of become popular, and sadly, you know, a lot of games follow that format when it comes to NPCs. They just don't feel believable, and that's a big problem with why so many games today are just very lackluster. And the NPCs that you interact with genuinely don't feel real. You know, why would you care? Why would you care what happens to them? Why would you care to see what happens to their storylines, their quests, all that stuff? But Fallout New Vegas is different because all of the NPCs, you know, the proper ones with, you know, fleshed out dialogues, they all have their own personal backstory. They have emotional luggage. You know, it's just so well done. And that brings me on to my next point, which is the companions. The companions in Fallout New Vegas are just simply amazing, okay? We all know that Bethesda tried to up the ante. We all know that Bethesda tried to expand on the NPCs in Starfield by saying that they're now going to interrupt your conversations and all this bullshit. You know, the same with a lot of RPG games these days, you know, saying that the companions are going to be much more alive. The only game that's actually ever pulled off great quality companions in my eyes is Baldur's Gate 3, but Fallout New Vegas is up there with that, because not only do these characters, you know, have something to say when you're exploring the world, when, you know, you're actually doing environmental exploration into these interesting dungeons or locations, they have something unique to say. They actually care also about what you do. They will actually, you know, comment on if you do something immoral or something that they think is right, you know, similar to Mass Effect. And they can't easily be, you know, just won over like in Starfield. You know, they actually care, and if you piss them off too much, then they're just gonna leave your ass. This type of storytelling with characters has also been lost as time has gone on with RPG games, but Fallout New Vegas was the perfect balance of, you know, interesting side companion quests that slowly, you know, just developed as you got to know this character, as you traveled with the companion. Great quality writing, that they're all, you know, slightly flawed human beings, none of them are perfect, and they've all got their own values. They don't just conform to whatever it is you believe in. That's what makes Fallout New Vegas so special, because all of the characters feel believable, and especially the companions, how they're done, how they integrate with the gameplay and the karma choices in Fallout New Vegas. It's not a simple, you know, you've done a bad thing, or please give me water, now you're a Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ reborn, like in Fallout 3. You know, the karma mechanic is just so much more fleshed out with each of the factions, depending on the faction that you piss off, and then their greater relationship with other factions. That's why Fallout New Vegas is still just such an engaging RPG to me, and to many out there, and that's why it's worth playing in 2025. Now, the gunplay in Fallout New Vegas is where it gets a little bit more difficult to recommend, because it's not a first-person shooter. I mean, technically it is, but it doesn't feel like one. That's because it's mostly an RPG game. And yeah, the combat is just not great. That's why I recommend, playing with a mod overhaul like Wabberjack or something, because it's just very janky and stiff, and a lot of people won't like the fact that your aim and your accuracy is actually tied to the RPG mechanics. If you're looking for a first-person shooter, it does rely on that kind of system, a stat-based system, which I really like, but it just doesn't feel good to shoot guns. Luckily, the VATs in the older Fallout games were absolutely incredible. Give me back goddamn gore, okay? Give me blood. Give me some blood in gaming. For God's sake, I'm an adult. I want to see some limbs fly off. But now, modern day games, we just don't get that, because everything has to be for everyone. And it's so satisfying seeing those bullets fly, not like Fallout 4 if you ask me. It's just a much better system overall, but the actual gunplay is very janky, but what makes it great is just the fact that you can literally stat into anything, energy weapons. You can get some amazing perks that make people just blow up completely if you want to stat into that, or heavy armor, or melee weapons, or, small pistols. Whatever it is, you can, just stat into it. And what makes Fallout New Vegas such a good Fallout game is it actually, respects the older Fallout games. If you stat into something gameplay-wise, like explosives, for example, it won't just be used in combat, it can be used outside of combat as well. Sadly, not as many times as I would like to see still, but at least they tried. There will be skill checks and, speech checks when you will have to actually show your expertise with explosives or break into something. You don't just have to lockpick, you can actually break into something using explosives. Small things like this is why it's a great RPG, and this is why it stands the test of time. And that's why I just wanted to gush about it, because I truly think that this year is the last chance to truly appreciate this game, because we're finally going to get a proper canon ending to Fallout New Vegas, and I'm very excited about it. Like I said, I could talk for ages about the philosophical analysis of Fallout, but I've already done a complete philosophical breakdown of the Fallout factions, so please go check that out, watch that video. I don't usually plug my own videos, but I really did work hard on that, so go check it out. But I think another thing that makes Fallout New Vegas stand out, and not a lot of people talk about this, to be honest, because they just gush about the RPG stuff, which is fair enough, but it's the atmosphere. This game, and Fallout 3 had a great atmosphere as well, but this game truly still has such a haunting atmosphere. The soundtrack is just brilliant. A lot of the tracks are from the original Fallout games, but it's not actually the soundtrack, it's the ambience, the ambient noises, especially around New Vegas and the Strip, and especially Freeside. Freeside is just so haunting and disturbing. It truly showcases what living in the apocalypse in the Fallout universe is actually like. All of these different gangs vying for power, these shops and kind of mini new corporations starting up, all of these different businesses fighting for power in this cutthroat wasteland where morality has completely fallen down by the wayside, and it's only being stitched together by these two massive great factions, the Legion, that represent, traditional moral virtue and values, but at what cost, and then the NCR that, basically are looked at as the kind of golden child of the old ways, democracy and fairness, but are completely corrupted through bureaucracy and, basically just stealing everyone's wealth and not giving it back to the people via taxes, pretty much our own system, but much more just corrupt and broken because they don't have the infrastructure. Seeing all of these different businesses fighting for power in Freeside truly showcase what the Fallout universe has become. It's not just after the bombs drop like Bethesda seem to think it is. New civilizations have already popped up, and the ambience and the haunting nature of, this just scary dogshit town that you're in Freeside and the Strip, it just perfectly, captures that Fallout essence, and it's such a rich atmosphere. When you stumble upon, just children chasing after a little rat, just trying to survive, just trying to eat something, it's very chilling and very dark, but I think that's why Fallout New Vegas is still so brilliant, and we need more adult games like that. In media today, and especially in gaming, we have this escapism, and that's all well and good. I love escapism as well, but in media you have the opportunity to tackle our own reality and existentialism and dread, and life is suffering, as the Buddha says, and you have to accept your nature to live a better life. At least that's my own philosophy, and the Stoics and stuff would agree with that. And media like Fallout New Vegas, a game in which you can interact with the digital environment around you, it doesn't shy away from that. It deals with a lot of complicated moral issues like slavery, like child poverty and deep political systems. And the reason why Fallout New Vegas is so popular is because I think people are hungering for that type of experience. We don't just want easy, breezy RPGs made for children, and Fallout New Vegas is actually, showcasing a game world that is rich and lived in and deals with life's complicated aspects, in all forms. And I think that's why Fallout New Vegas is so special, and that's why it's a masterpiece to me. And even though the gameplay is rather stagnant at this point, I truly think that this last year, if you haven't played it, this is the final year to really play it if you're a Fallout fan, because the Fallout TV show with this will just give you an amazing experience this year. Another reason why Fallout New Vegas is simply fantastic, if you ask me, is the level design, okay? The world is so beautifully designed. You have such interesting locations that all are unique. None of them feel the same. All of the vaults have mysteries to uncover, side quests to discover. Especially when you look at what Fallout became later, which is basically just a generic shooter. All of the locations have interesting stories, great environmental storytelling, and just the way it's designed, it's smartly designed. You can't just begin the game and head straight off to New Vegas. There are certain roadblocks like the death claws in the quarry or the cazadors. It's very smartly designed, all of the locations having actual impact, and then some kind of quest that you can engage with multiple different outcomes. Many of them you don't even have to be violent to actually, finish the quest properly, which I love. And your traits, your perks actually matter. A lot of games try and sprinkle RPG mechanics into action games these days, and it doesn't matter, okay? If you look at Dragon Age, the new game, which was absolutely terrible, it doesn't matter. That's not an RPG game. That's not what an RPG should be about. Fallout New Vegas actually respects your perks, your choices of your character. They always come up in conversations. You even have dialogue for being a complete idiot, and if you choose low intelligence, not to mention playstyles, like if you want to be a melee build or you want to focus on explosives or laser weapons, so many different ways to actually play the game and then actually engage with the world, because it's laid out in a way that you have to actually navigate it. Fallout New Vegas is laid out in a way that you truly have to navigate it properly in order to survive, especially if you play on hardcore difficulty, which I highly recommend. Each encounter just feels unique and interesting. There's never there are some dull quests, of course, like in any open world games where it's just like a fetch quest, but there are so many interesting quests. For example, just a short companion one with Boone, when you have to find who sold out his wife and then bring them in front of the Novak dinosaur to then get sniped by Boone himself. If you're feeling lazy, you can just drag a poor, old lady or whoever you want and just have him commit, just blatant murder, which is hilarious but also very dark. And Fallout New Vegas really gets the identity of Fallout. A bleak, dark, but also morbidly funny, view of retro futurism. It's got such an interesting universe, the Fallout universe, where all of these technologies are invented because the lack of a transistor and them being all bulky. All of these different corporations like Vault-Tec, Robco, and Gunrunners, and all of these different historical differences from our own world, they all feel so fleshed out in New Vegas. So every encounter that you have is just unique and interesting. So Fallout New Vegas in 2025, it's a brilliant game. You need to play it. Honestly, you're missing out if you don't play it. And I just think it's absolutely wonderful. Fallout New Vegas also just makes you examine yourself. You know, it makes you ask questions. That's what a good role-playing game should do. If you're role-playing as a character, or if you're trying to role-play and make choices and decisions based on what you would actually do, Fallout New Vegas is always, you know, asking you, you know, what was the right choice? You know, if this was the right thing to do. 9 times out of 10, it's not, because it's morally grey. That's the point of New Vegas. That's why it's fantastic. And there's a reason why people say Fallout New Vegas is a masterpiece. I mean, there's so many video essays on YouTube. I'm sure mine will get drowned out. But I just want you to know that I truly think if you haven't played it, you're missing out on a truly fantastic gaming experience. There's so many things I could talk about, but this video would be hours and hours long. Go play it for yourself and have a great time wandering the wasteland.